Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Walters Wanderings Travel Podcast. My name is Scott Walters, and I am here to help you sort through all the different and varied travel options out there. And today we're going to talk about touring. And touring is an important aspect of travel because there are so many different ways you can tour and so many different places you can tour to. And today our guest will walk our way through that. And I'm sure I'm going to learn something too along the way, which is great. Just a reminder, though, that if you do mention this edition of the podcast to me when you book, I will give you $50 of funny cash, funny money you can use on your tour. We can make it $50 off the tour cost, or we can send you some kind of a gift card or something that will help make your tour a great thing. So with that in mind, we have with us Josh Hepp. He is from Trafalgar Group. He represents six different touring companies, which is really, really nice because, again, it'll capture every type of tourist and every type of travel personality. And I think that's really super. So, Josh, hello and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to talk about touring. I think it's one of the best ways to travel and experience the world, for sure.
Yes, a lot of people do it themselves, and that's wonderful. And I certainly book enough do-it-yourself travelers to all different and various places. But sometimes there is a camaraderie with a tour group. And again, sometimes the tours are very small and intimate, maybe a dozen people. And sometimes, you'll be on a big honking bus with 53 others, and you better have your deodorant ready. But that said, you represent six different brands, and I think the one that most people would maybe know from, just the fact that the sheer size of it would be Trafalgar. So let's talk about the large company Trafalgar and the type of things that they offer.
Yeah, so Trafalgar is part of the Travel Corporation, which is a family-owned company. And so this is just one of the brands that I represent. And Trafalgar is a really great value experience tour brand because there's so much included, right? So it's everything from the travel director giving you all the local secrets of the cities that we visit. We do these really cool dining experiences called Be My Guest, where we actually go to somebody's home and have a really neat and immersive dining experience at their house with their family. We get some really great experiences at all the iconic sites. That might be something like, when you go to the Vatican, instead of waiting in line with the 3,000 other people in Rome for the day, we'll skip the line and get on with our day and experience the Vatican and then go do a bunch of other things. So it's a really great value brand. We go to all seven continents. We go all over the world. So there's really something for anybody, I think, with Trafalgar, which is cool.
So all seven continents. That's impressive. I have not been to all seven continents, so I have to up my game a little bit.
Same. Me too.
Now, another brand that's more, shall we say, British Isles centric is something called Brendan Vacations. Explain what Brendan Vacations does and how it might be different from what Trafalgar might do.
Yeah, so Brendan Vacations is awesome. So it is Ireland and Scotland only. So we are the experts in Ireland, Scotland. Our team sits in Dublin, and they have some really what makes Brendan really special is the really intimate and local relationships that we have with hotels, experiences, restaurants, the whole shebang. And so, while we do the tours on Brendan Vacation, we also do private chauffeur experiences. We can help with self-drive experiences, and then also a neat one is locally hosted rail, where you travel by train throughout the country, and a local city host will meet you at each hotel, just to give you a little bit of the secrets of the city that you might visit. Maybe you want to know where the best burger is, where live music is that night. They're kind of like a friend in each destination that you go to.
So sort of like concierge service without having to pay for concierge service.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, this just for a second, I know we focus a lot on the whole touring aspect, the self-driving aspect. Maybe I don't know. Some people might be scared of driving in Ireland where you're on the other side of the road. and some of the things like that. But
Yeah.
explain how the self-driving works. I mean, do they get maps, GPS? How does that work?
Yeah, it's super easy, especially now because everything's kind of on your phone, so you don't need a map and try to figure things out. There are GPSs, so it's easy to do. Driving on the other side of the road, it seems intimidating, but once you do it, you're good to go. It's not that different. And so what happens is typically most people fly into Dublin. They'll do their Dublin few days without the car, and then when they're ready to go into the country, they'll go pick up the car. And just kind of drive around, and we'll set up the full itinerary for you, so you know where you're going, what you're doing, where you're supposed to be. But it gives you the freedom to go off and find a little town, or somebody told you about this restaurant in a little village over. So it gives you that freedom to go off and explore and kind of do some more hikes if you want, more adventurous stuff, or it allows you to go to some of the more difficult places to get to because you only need a car. You can't take a bus. You can't take a train there. Those are some of the interesting islands, some of the interesting villages around the country that just have no other way to get around except for a vehicle.
But of course, the other thing is I should let everyone know that even with a self-driving tour, Brendan will provide tickets for all those attractions that need those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. So we like to set everything up before you go. Everything from hotels to the attractions to the experiences, because Ireland has become so popular that it's hard to just show up and sign up for something because they're probably sold out, right? And so that's why setting that up in advance is so important.
Yeah, well, Ireland's not the only place for that. I
Yeah,
assure you, I just spent some time in Italy before a cruise, and I can assure you that, oh my goodness, it was the lines waiting for those famous tourist attractions in Rome were really, really long. And I was glad I had skip the line access. Let me tell you,
I
saved
bet.
me hours of standing on my feet. Now, another brand you have is called Cost Saver. And I guess as the name implies, we're looking at something that may be a little bit more budget friendly. Talk about that.
Yeah, Cost Saver is really great. It's like our unpackaged tour brand. So it is budget friendly, but it's also all about choice. So we'll provide that those iconic few experiences, right? Maybe you want to go off and see the Colosseum, or you want to go off and visit Buckingham Palace, whatever that might be. There are some few iconic experiences included, but everything else is choice optional after you. So you can choose to go on a bike ride around the city. You can choose to do a food tour. You can choose to do maybe a nature hike, whatever that might be. There's all sorts of really cool optionals that you can pick from, or just have your free time throughout the tour and go off and do your own thing. So it's a great opportunity to go off and see a country, a destination, have a travel director with you the entire time, but then have the ability to go off and do your own thing. And it's really cool for families because you could go with 6 people, and each person could go off and do something that interests them for the day that's very specific to their interests and their needs, and then come back together for a really beautiful dinner on some lovely restaurant and talk about their day. So it's kind of fun that way. It's everything just like a tour. Everything is included, from transportation, breakfast, a couple of lunches, and some great hotels that are near the city center for sure.
Well, that sounds great. And again, for those people who do have the varied interest, if you say you have, it's a 25th anniversary, couple, and they're bringing their bridal party, right? But not
Yeah.
everyone wants to do the same thing because obviously, everyone has different things. So maybe someone wants to go, find a rugby match. Someone else wants to go to a museum, and someone else, wants to go ahead and grab a bike and do a little bike tour. Obviously, you can go ahead and do that. Cost Saver can make those arrangements and do that, and that's nice. And then again, come together for dinner. You find an authentic dining experience, which I think that's one of the most important things when it comes to travel is authentic cuisine, because you can have tourist cuisine and you can be in places, and I've been to these places in foreign countries where they'll serve you up the food. It's like, really?
Yes.
It's like no offense to people who love the Olive Garden, but it's like you don't go to Italy to go eat at the Olive Garden. You
Yeah.
go to Italy to eat
Exactly.
legitimate Italian food, so forth. You go to England to eat legitimate English food, although they had an empire to run, so maybe their culinary history isn't so great. If you go to France, you want to have French food, et cetera, et cetera. Now, another brand I see is Kentucky. Now, it sounds a little different from some of the others. So, talk about what Kentucky can do for you.
Yeah, so Kentucky is really great. It's full of adventure, it's full of camaraderie. But the caveat is that everybody that travels on Kentucky has to be between 18 and 35. And that is to create a very unique experience for travelers, right? Because younger travelers are looking for something different. They have a very specific need and mindset and things that they want to do. So Kentucky goes all over the world, but it's only for those 18 to 35-year-olds. The average age is, sometimes you see that 18, but the average age is actually 26. So it's a lot of young professionals. It's a lot of teachers and nurses, and people that want to just kind of shut their brain off, go on a cool adventure with some great new people from around the world. And most of our travelers travel solo. So about a little over half of the travelers are solo travelers. So it's a really great for people that want to meet new people from all over the world, and have some really cool, adventurous experiences too.
Well, that's nice. It sounds like zip lining in the morning and grabbing a fruity drink in the afternoon kind of routine,
Exactly,
like that.
exactly.
Well, that sounds great. Now, one question to follow up on that. Single solo travelers, are there, with Kentucky, and I guess with some of the other brands, are there supplements, or are there times when the single supplement is waived?
Yes, that's a good question. So with Kentucky, especially because it is half of our travelers travel solo, we do a free roommate matching. So you just sign up with a twin share, and we'll match somebody kind of the same age, always the same gender, and then typically somewhere if you're we'll try to match with somebody from the same area that you are in if we can. With the other brands, we do offer a twin share as well, but it's not as commonly used because of the nature of the brands. And then for single supplements, what's great is that we do offer single supplements on all of our brands at cost, so we don't add any sort of markup to them. However, they are very limited. Across the departures. So there's only one or two maybe per departure, and they can get booked really quickly. So if you can't find one on the June 1st date, check June 15th or whatever it might be. You just have to be a little flexible with it.
No, I understand that, and again, the solo traveler, that's a whole different market, and then it's always a very interesting discussion. And like I say, certainly Kentucky covers that really well for that particular age group of the. That's my daughter's 19, so
Oh, sure.
she would be right in the wheelhouse for something Kentucky if
Love
the
it.
conditions
Yeah.
warrant. There's no doubt. Now, there's another brand out there called Insight Vacations. Talk about that, because that's a little bit, again, it's completely different from all the rest. I think that's one of the things I like about the Trafalgar umbrella here, is that everything it's all still part of the same thing, and you still get all the good service, but you also get a lot of differences. So talk about Insight.
Yeah, so Insight's a great brand. So it's our premium tour brand. This is for travelers that want to do, have a great experience, but a little bit more high end, a little bit more luxury. We'll stay at premium hotels right in the city's like tourist center of everywhere that we go. The great thing about Insight is the coach. So the motor coach that we use has fewer seats, so there's going to be fewer people on trip. It's a max of 40 people. We also have small group trips. But what makes the motor coach so special is the leg room. So it's kind of like you have that premium economy leg room. You can really stretch your legs out and really have a nice, comfortable experience when you're going from Munich to Berlin, for instance, right? You have a really comfortable experience with your legs, and it makes it a little bit more interesting, I think, to do.
No, I understand. I get that. I mean, being that I'm 6 foot, sometimes when you're in a regular motor coach or in a regular train, the situation is not maybe as comfortable as you would like, and certainly on airplanes, it's just ridiculous. So I understand the need and necessity for having something where it's a little bit more spacious and
Yeah.
more room, and then again having less people on a tour is going to be good for you as well, because again there's more personalized attention, and we always like that.
Yeah, exactly. There's more personalized attention, and the experiences are really cool too. So like we just had an internal conference, and one of my colleagues put it really well, is that the experiences that we offer are also premium. So like something like Trafalgar, we'll go to Crazy Horse, for instance, in the Dakotas. And with Trafalgar, we'll go off, we'll see it, we'll learn the same history, the same stories, but we'll see it from the base, and we'll be looking up at Crazy Horse. With Insight, it's the same stories, it's the same experience, it's the same place, but instead we'll be at the top of Crazy Horse looking at it directly, learning all those things. So it really just depends on what do you value, right? What's more of value to you? Because some people might not find those premium experiences worth it or important, and some people do. But that's kind of the difference between Insight and Trafalgar. It's those premium little touches. When you have a lot of them throughout the week or two, it makes a really big difference for you.
No, I can understand that, and like I say, I have not been to the Crazy Horse Monument, but I have seen pictures and videos, and have sent clients there, and it's a truly remarkable thing. And even when we compare it to Mount Rushmore, that isn't too far away, it's like, wow, this, because they're both impressive in their own ways, and
Yeah.
it's nice that your corporate entity there is able to show it in these different ways. Now, there's one brand I haven't mentioned yet, so why don't you introduce it and talk about that?
Yeah, so this brand is really cool. It's for high-end travelers. It's called Luxury Gold. And what, just like the name implies, it's all things luxury, right? So this is the same coach that we use with Insight. However, we only have a max of 24 travelers on that. So everybody gets kind of like their own little row of benches on the coach. It's high-end hotels, so we'll stay in the best hotel in the area, which are always typically 5 stars. Sometimes we'll stay in 4 stars because it's a little bit more nature focused, right? And there might not be a 5-star property. We include some beautiful dining experiences, everything from some exceptional things here in the States to Michelin dining in Europe. But what makes it really special is the private VIP experiences that we offer. And so this is when we not only are going to skip the line at any iconic site, but we're probably going either before or after the museum or the destination opens. So it's just our group of 24 that are experiencing the place that we're going to. So it's just us. We get a private, typically some sort of private museum curator that comes on trip with us. So you get a really cool in-depth experience of these iconic sites. And the other great thing is that we have our travel concierge. So this is like similar to our travel director, but they make sure everything is to the guest's needs. And what's great is like we will offer something maybe at 2 p.m. So the rest of the day is to go off and relax, explore these really beautiful hotels or little towns that we're in. You have breakfast brought to your room. So it's a lot more leisurely, which our guests typically like as well.
Now, ask a question about this travel concierge, and maybe this applies to the other brands besides the Luxury Gold. Say your tour includes London, but you have the evening free, and you want to see a show on the West End. Will that concierge hook you up with tickets? And what about some of the other brands? How would that work?
Yeah, so the other brands would say this is how you can get tickets. You can call these people and see if you can get tickets. Well, the travel concierge will try to go off and get those tickets for you if they're available, right?
Okay.
So it's two very different experiences, even though they're helping you out
No,
both
I
of them.
understand that. It's great. I appreciate that. Now,
Yeah.
I want to ask, what are you seeing so far as 2024 travel trends? Where do you think people are going? And I guess maybe more importantly, is where should people go that maybe we need to pay more attention to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm like looking at my map, thinking, where is everybody going next year? It's still all the big highlight destinations. So the Italy's, the Ireland's, the UK's, that's where people are going. And they're in Portugal is kind of up and coming still. But what's great about that is if you're still looking to go to those places, most people are going in that summertime, right? That May through September time.
Oh
And
yeah, and mostly because it's schedule driven. I trust me. I live that reality. I'm guilty of going to Italy and doing a cruise in August, so
yeah,
I know how it works.
and that's okay. But like if you have the opportunity to go in any of that off season, it's an excellent time to go because there are drastically fewer people.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not just like it, and you can tell, Scott, like you can see it and feel it. So you can go anywhere from that October to April to some of those highlight destinations. I think that's really important. Typically, the weather's great, the food is wonderful, and you don't have to fight for a table at dinner or try to hopefully get in somewhere. Um, a few other up and coming destinations that we're also seeing. Peru. Even though people talk a lot about Peru, it doesn't always get booked, and we see that 2024 people are really interested in going back, especially after the pandemic for the first time,
Sure.
because it really just kind of opened up. So I think Peru's one of them. South Africa has been really, really big for us. We introduced Africa to most of our brands throughout the last few years. So South Africa is one that's kind of blowing up right now for us. And obviously, like New Zealand and Australia, the people always want to go there, but the flight I think intimidates everybody.
Listen, the flight intimidates me. What can I tell you?
Me too. Me too.
I almost feel like maybe I find a 25-night cruise and then take 7 days at the end of it or something like that. But Lord knows I can't afford to do that time or money wise.
Same. Me too. Me too. But New Zealand's been really, really popular, both Australia and New Zealand, but New Zealand a little bit more, especially for the South Island. Um, so those are some of the up and coming destinations that we're kind of seeing for 2024 for sure.
And what about domestically? I mean, you do domestic trips too, and I think there's some people that maybe they don't want to take a long plane ride across an ocean or something. And I know some years ago I actually did send a multi generational family on one of your trips
Yeah.
that started with them going to Yellowstone and ending up at Mount Rushmore, and they really enjoyed it. So talk about some of the things you do stateside that might be of interest.
We do some really great stuff in the US. So it's actually our second most popular like region of destination that we sell. Our number one trip is actually Hawaii for a tour. So I think that's really cool because you can do everything from 6 nights, 8 nights, 10 nights, and choose all sorts of cool islands to go off and visit. And we include the air. It's really neat. But we also do a lot of the national parks. So we have some really great relationships with our national park partner, really the government. So we have a really great relationship there where we include all kinds of great park rangers to come on and give us talks about the different parks and the animals and the ecology and why that park is so special to so many people. So we do a lot of that. We actually have active hiking trips, particularly in Utah. So if you want to go off and you want to do a hiking experience at in Moab, for instance, we have I think it's 10 days in Utah, and you get to choose your adventure for the day. So you can choose like a mile hike, a 5 mile hike, a 4 mile hike, whatever it might be that's offered for the day. So you go off with park ranger and our travel director to go and get active in Utah. I'm here in Colorado. We have some really cool Colorado trips that do everything from whitewater rafting to just exploring, Boulder, for instance. It's a little bit more leisurely. One of our more popular trips that we have is Taste and Sounds of the South. So it's starting in New Orleans, and you're just making your way throughout the South down to Nashville. It's all about the food, the culture, the people. It's so different. If you're from, I'm originally from Wisconsin. If you're from Wisconsin and you go off to New Orleans, it's such a different culture shock, even here in the U.S., So the trips that we do, everything that I talked about before, we do that same thing just here in the U.S. or Canada. And one of the trips that I would love to do, it's a Alaska by land, right? So we do an Alaska trip. We do a couple Alaska trips that people absolutely love, and it's just a different perspective, right? If you've done the cruise, you've seen the whales. Go off into the land and experience what that land is, and see the bears and see the dogs, and you get a little bit more connected to the land, I think, that way, which is
No,
really
it's true.
special. Yeah.
And then for those people who have that kind of time, you could do the 7-day Alaska tour and then grab the cruise ship and Seward and do that wonderful southbound trip.
You sure
And
can.
get to
Yeah.
Seattle, and I can bundle that all up. So it's a beautiful thing to be able
Yeah.
to do. So I mean, there's lots of options. And again, if you're covering all 7 continents, there's nothing left uncovered. And it's tremendous opportunity for people to go ahead and travel at their own way, at their own pace. And again, I have to say this: my wife and daughter, for my daughter's Sweet 16 a few years ago, they used another company. Sorry, and they went to London and Paris.
Yeah.
And my daughter had her Sweet 16 at the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, cool.
Instead of a regular party type of thing. But my wife and my daughter are still in touch with about 8 of the other travelers from that tour. And I think, that kind of bonding it cannot be underestimated. I really think it's important. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I agree. I think the connections that, we're social people, right? And the connections that you make while you're on tour is just so much different than any other travel style. Just because you're with these people for a week or 2 weeks, you really get to learn a lot about this stranger that becomes a best pal that you'll talk with, and you share this really neat life experience with that nobody else will really understand, I think, right? So
right, it's like an inside joke, but it's not like one of those things you're going to laugh and guffaw at. It's one of those things where you do have that shared experience set, and I've done these tours, and so
yeah.
I toured once with 65 people, well before I became a travel agent. And
Sure.
it was there were moments of insanity because we had the double-decker bus and they had to latch a trailer on the back of it for all the extra luggage. But but we still had a lot of wonderfully shared experiences. We got to go to great places. We got again, insider availability to some things.
Yeah.
And it's truly wonderful. And again, I think a matter of getting that kind of authentic experience and getting it where there's a good bang for your buck. Value is a funny word. But when you say bang for your buck, that's not everyone understands what that is. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to tell people about all the different brands under the Trafalgar umbrella. And again, you've been a great resource, and you've taught me a few things I did not know, especially when it comes to things like motor coach legroom and stuff like that. It's not unimportant. These are the kind of details that maybe can help set you apart from other people and offer again my travel clients the best possible vacation options. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to offer that kind of option. And again, with 6 different brands, they can say, I want to go to here, what's going to fit. And, we do a little I do some betting conversation, and I can find the proper fit. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think, we 6 different brands, it seems like a lot, but it really just allows people to choose what's best for them, right? Because everybody is different. They value something different. So it is, we have trips for anybody and anyone, anywhere, which is really special.
Yeah, and again, that's helpful to have all those options. So again, Josh, I want to thank you for hopping on board the Walters Wanderings Travel Podcast. My name is Scott Walters. Don't forget, if you book a tour using this podcast as a reference, I will make sure you get $50 to use somewhere on tour. You can buy some souvenirs. You can go ahead and have an extra bottle of wine. I don't care because I'm not there. So I appreciate everyone listening and being on board this edition of the Walters Wandering Travel Podcast. And we'll see you real soon for another edition.